What if the person in your dream isn't there to tell you something about them, but to reveal something you've been avoiding about yourself? Have you ever woken up and felt unsettled because someone appeared in your dream, someone specific, vivid, impossible to ignore? What if that dream wasn't random at all? In Zen and Buddhist wisdom, dreams are never accidents. When a person appears in your dream, it always points to one single truth inside you, not many meanings, not confusion, just one quiet message waiting to be noticed. Modern life trains us to look outward for answers. We analyze people, replay conversations, and search for hidden signals. But Zen teaches something very different. It says that dreams are the voice of your inner world, often speaking louder than your waking life ever does. When the body rests, the mind does not sleep. It continues moving, remembering, weaving together emotion, memory, and unfinished experiences. And when your mind chooses a person to appear in a dream, it is not because that person entered your consciousness. It is because your consciousness chose them. Think of the dream as a mirror held up in the dark. You don't see the mirror itself, you see your reflection. In the same way, every face in a dream reflects a part of your inner life, a part asking to be seen, a part asking to be understood. Zen does not treat dreams as fortune-telling or supernatural signs. It treats them as honest messages from the subconscious. Messages shaped by attachment, by emotional residue, by moments we never fully processed during the day. This is why dreams often feel more real than logic. They bypass the thinking mind and speak directly to the heart. Have you noticed that the people who appear in dreams are rarely neutral? They carry weight, emotion, history. That weight is not about them. It is about what they represent inside you, an unresolved feeling, a lingering desire, a truth you have been avoiding. Buddhist teaching reminds us that the inner world always seeks balance. What we ignore while awake often returns when we sleep, not to disturb us but to guide us, not to confuse us but to wake us up gently. This understanding changes everything. Instead of asking, "Why did they appear in my dream?" Zen invites a deeper question. What part of myself is asking for attention right now? When you begin to see dreams this way, they stop being mysterious and start becoming meaningful. They become teachers, quiet ones, patient ones, always pointing inward. And once you learn how to listen, your dreams stop pulling you into the past and start guiding you toward clarity, awareness, and inner freedom. Before moving forward, let us slow down for a moment, because what we are about to explore reshapes how we understand dreams and reality itself. And this is where we will go to the first part of today's video. The true nature of dreams through Zen and Buddhist wisdom. In this perspective, a dream is not something separate from real life, nor is it an illusion to be dismissed. It is simply another form of awareness arising from the same mind that experiences waking life. When the body rests, the mind does not shut down. It loosens its grip on logic and begins to speak in images instead of words, weaving together memory, emotion, and karmic traces accumulated over time. Dreams are not random creations of the night. They are shaped by what has been lived, felt, and left unresolved. What the mind cannot express clearly during the day often finds a voice when silence arrives. Zen teachings remind us that both waking life and dreams belong to the same continuum of consciousness. The world you touch during the day feels solid, while the dream world feels fleeting, yet both are impermanent and shaped by perception. One appears stable, the other dissolves upon waking, but neither exists independently of the observing mind. Understanding this dissolves the false boundary between what we call real and unreal. This is why, in Buddhism, the person who appears in your dream is never coming from the outside. No one enters your dream space. Your awareness brings them forth. Consciousness selects familiar faces because it communicates through symbols, and people are the most powerful symbols the mind knows. A dream does not speak in explanations. It speaks in images that carry emotional weight. When someone appears in your dream, it is not because of who they are in the external world, but because of what they represent inside you, a memory that still echoes, a feeling that was never fully processed, or a karmic imprint left behind by past interactions. In Buddhism, karma is not fate or punishment. It is momentum. Every repeated thought, every suppressed emotion, and every unexamined reaction leaves a subtle trace that continues to move beneath the surface of awareness. Some of these traces express themselves during waking life through habits and emotional patterns, while others wait patiently for stillness. Dreams become the space where the mind reveals what has been buried, not to disturb you, but to restore balance. This is why dreams often feel intimate and honest, touching places that logic cannot reach. Zen does not ask you to analyze dreams obsessively or search for predictions about the future. It invites you to see dreams as mirrors rather than messages. What appears is not meant to be chased outward, but recognized inwardly. When you stop asking what the dream says about someone else, you begin to hear what it is saying about you. Once this understanding settles, dreams lose their confusion and gain clarity. They no longer pull you into illusion, but gently guide you toward awareness. And only from this foundation can the deeper meanings begin to unfold. Once you understand that dreams are not separate from reality but another layer of awareness, the next question naturally arises. If the dream is a mirror of the inner world, why does it so often choose people to speak through? Why not words or abstract images or clear explanations? This is where we arrive smoothly at the next part of today's video. Why the mind chooses human figures as its most powerful symbols. When the mind enters sleep, it no longer communicates through language. Words belong to the waking intellect, to logic and structure. In dreams, that system softens, and the mind returns to its older, deeper way of speaking through symbols. And among all symbols, none carry more emotional weight than a human face. A face holds memory. A face carries history. The moment you see someone, your body responds before thought arrives. This is why the mind chooses people. They bypass analysis and go straight to feeling. Dreams are not interested in explanation. They are interested in impact. In Zen, it is said that the mind uses what is most familiar to reveal what is most hidden. People you know, or even strangers you briefly saw, once become vessels for inner meaning. The dream is not showing you the person as they are in the world. It is showing you what they awaken inside you. Every person who appears in a dream represents something alive in your inner landscape. Sometimes it is your current emotional state, surfacing when you are no longer distracted. Sometimes it is a lesson your subconscious has been waiting for silence to deliver. At other times, it is an attachment that has not yet loosened its grip, or a karmic trace left behind by past encounters that were never fully released. This is why dreams often return to the same faces. Not because those people are thinking about you, but because something within you is still responding to what they represent. The mind repeats symbols until understanding dawns. Zen teachers remind us that no figure in a dream should be taken literally. A friend may appear not to represent friendship itself, but loyalty, safety, or a version of yourself that feels accepted. An enemy may arise not because of conflict in the outer world, but because the mind is pointing toward a rejected emotion, a shadow you have not yet embraced. Even a stranger, someone with no story attached, can symbolize an unexplored part of yourself, a potential or fear that has not yet been given a name. What matters is not who they are, but how you feel when they appear. The emotion is the key that unlocks the symbol. Dreams speak through feeling because feeling is closer to truth than thought. From a Buddhist perspective, this is deeply connected to karma. Karma is not fate written in stone. It is the momentum of experience. Each interaction leaves an impression. Each emotional charge leaves a mark. Some marks dissolve quickly. Others linger quietly, shaping perception from beneath awareness. When conditions are right, when the mind is still, those impressions rise as images in a dream. This is why Buddhism says that every face in a dream is ultimately your own face. Not in appearance, but in origin. They are born from the same consciousness that is watching the dream unfold. The mind is both the stage and the actors, both the observer and the story. Understanding this changes how you relate to dreams. Instead of asking, "Why did I dream about them?" the question becomes, "What part of me is being reflected right now?" Instead of projecting meaning outward, attention turns inward. When you see dreams this way, they stop pulling you into confusion. They become precise, gentle but honest, not demanding action but inviting awareness. And once awareness arises, the symbol no longer needs to return. This is the quiet intelligence of the dreaming mind, always guiding, never forcing, always pointing you back to yourself. As we move deeper into understanding dreams, something subtle begins to settle. The faces no longer feel random, and the stories no longer feel chaotic. There is a quiet coherence behind it all, as if the mind has been repeating the same message in different forms. And it is at this moment that we will move into the next part of today's video. The one truth every person who appears in your dream is pointing toward. No matter who appears in a dream, the meaning always returns to a single place: yourself. Dreams never speak about the inner life of the other person. They do not reveal what they think, feel, or intend. The dreaming mind has no interest in their psychology. It is focused entirely on your inner landscape. Every dream figure is a fragment of your own consciousness asking to be seen. Sometimes that fragment carries an old wound that never fully healed. The mind does not bring it up to cause pain, but because pain unattended continues to shape perception. When the world grows quiet in sleep, what was buried gently rises, not to haunt you, but to be acknowledged. At other times, the figure represents a desire that was suppressed for too long. Not all desires are dramatic or forbidden. Some are simple longings to be understood, to be chosen, to feel safe. When these wishes are ignored in waking life, they do not disappear. They change shape and return as symbols in dreams. There are also dreams that reflect attachment. Attachment is not love. It is clinging to an image, an outcome, or a memory. When attachment remains unresolved, the mind circles around it. A familiar face appears again and again, not because the connection still exists in reality, but because the mind has not yet released the idea it holds. And then there are dreams born from avoidance. Fear that was never faced. Truth that was never spoken. Choices that were postponed. The mind does not accuse or punish. It simply presents an image and waits for awareness to arise. From a Buddhist perspective, this is the compassionate function of dreams. They are not messages from outside forces, nor signs predicting the future. They are mirrors held gently in front of awareness. The mind shows you what is incomplete so that wholeness can naturally emerge. This is why dreams do not explain themselves. Explanation belongs to intellect. Dreams belong to insight. They work through resonance, not logic. When you wake up feeling unsettled, moved, or strangely clear, the dream has already done its work. Zen teaches that when something is truly seen, it no longer needs to be repeated. The same is true for dreams. Once the underlying meaning is recognized not intellectually, but felt, the symbol fades. The face dissolves. The story ends. Understanding this shifts the relationship you have with your dreams. You stop chasing interpretations and start listening inwardly. Instead of asking, "What does this person mean?" you ask, "What part of me is asking for attention right now?" In that moment, the dream becomes a doorway rather than a puzzle. It invites honesty instead of analysis, presence instead of speculation, and slowly, without force, the mind begins to rest. Dreams become quieter, clearer, more spacious. Not because there is nothing left inside, but because what was hidden has been welcomed home. This is the single meaning behind every dream figure. A call back to yourself. Once you see that every dream figure points back to yourself, a quiet shift happens. The need to analyze others begins to fall away, and attention naturally turns inward. The dream stops being a mystery to solve and becomes a mirror to sit with. And it is here that we will move into the next part of today's video. Turning inward, how Zen teaches us to understand dreams. Zen does not approach dreams by searching for external signs or fixed meanings. It does not ask what the dream predicts, warns, or promises. Instead, it asks something far more intimate. What is being revealed inside you right now? To interpret a dream through Zen is to reverse the usual direction of attention. Rather than asking why a person appeared, you begin by noticing what arose in you the moment you saw them. The emotion is always the first doorway. Not the story, not the setting, but the feeling that moved through your body before thought had time to explain it. Was there warmth, tension, fear, longing, resistance? Emotions do not lie. They are immediate, honest responses from the deeper layers of the mind. Zen teaches that when you touch the feeling directly, without judging or naming it too quickly, insight begins to unfold on its own. The next step is not to define the person, but to sense what they represent within your inner world. Every face carries a quality. A former lover may carry attachment, unfinished longing, or a version of yourself that once felt alive. A teacher may embody discipline, wisdom, or the part of you that knows what is right but has been neglected. A stranger often points towards something unrecognized, either a hidden potential waiting to be expressed, or a fear you have avoided looking at. These are not interpretations to memorize. They are invitations to reflection. Zen does not give answers. It sharpens awareness. There is also a deeper question that gently arises beneath the surface. What truth is being exposed through this image? Not a moral lesson, not a judgment, but a truth about where your attention has been resting. Dreams illuminate what the waking mind has learned to ignore. For example, Dreaming of an old relationship does not mean the relationship should return. It often means the attachment has not fully released its grip. Something in you is still holding on, not to the person, but to the feeling, the identity, or the sense of meaning they once provided. Dreaming of a teacher does not mean you need guidance from outside. It may reveal that your own inner discipline has softened, or that the voice of wisdom inside you has been drowned out by noise and habit. Dreaming of a stranger rarely speaks about danger or fate. More often, it is the mind's way of introducing you to yourself, to a part that has not yet been welcomed into awareness. Zen holds one unshakable principle throughout all of this. The dream is always about the dreamer. Not symbolically, not metaphorically, but directly. The mind does not waste energy creating stories about others. It uses familiar forms to communicate with itself. When you sit with a dream in this way, there is no rush to conclude. You do not need to explain it to anyone. You simply let it settle. Over time, patterns become visible. Certain emotions repeat, certain faces return, and slowly clarity replaces confusion. This inward way of seeing transforms dreams from distractions into teachers. Not teachers that instruct, but teachers that point. They point back to awareness, back to honesty, back to the present moment where understanding is always possible. And when a dream has been truly understood, not intellectually, but inwardly, it no longer needs to come back. As you learn to look inward rather than outward, another layer of understanding begins to reveal itself. Dreams are not only reflections of emotion. They are also expressions of momentum carried through time. And this is where we will move into the next part of today's video. Karmic echoes: how karma continues to speak through dreams. In Buddhism, karma is often misunderstood as fate or punishment, but it is neither. Karma is continuity. It is the quiet force created by every action, every word, and every thought you have ever repeated. Nothing dramatic, nothing mystical, just movement. What is done leaves an imprint, and that imprint seeks expression. These imprints are stored deep within the subconscious, like seeds resting in dark soil. Some sprout during waking life as habits, reactions, or patterns you seem unable to escape. Others wait for sleep, when the thinking mind loosens its grip, and the deeper layers finally have space to speak. This is why certain people appear in dreams again and again. They are not visitors from the outside. They are carriers of karmic memory. A face becomes the vessel through which unfinished energy resurfaces, an unresolved debt, a relationship that never truly closed, a moment that ended outwardly but remained open inwardly. You may dream of someone you have not seen in years and wonder why they still return. It is rarely because of them. It is because something between you and that memory was never fully understood, forgiven, or released. Karma does not demand punishment. It seeks awareness. Dreams provide a unique and compassionate space for this process. Unlike waking life, where consequences feel immediate and heavy, dreams allow karma to express itself safely. Nothing needs to be acted upon. Nothing must be fixed. The mind simply shows you what still carries weight. In this way, dreams are not traps, they are opportunities. They allow you to see karmic threads without becoming entangled in them. You witness, you feel, and you wake up. The lesson is offered without forcing a reaction. This is why Buddhist practice places such importance on awareness, even during sleep. Advanced practitioners train themselves to recognize dreams as dreams. Not to control them, but to remain conscious within them. When awareness is present, karma loses its grip. When you recognize a dream as a dream, the emotional charge softens, attachment weakens, fear loosens. The image no longer pulls you forward or pushes you away. It simply appears, teaches, and dissolves. Meditation during waking life strengthens this same capacity. Each time you sit and observe thoughts without chasing them, you are learning how to do the same with dreams. You are training the mind to witness without clinging. Over time, something subtle happens. The dreams change. Faces that once returned with intensity begin to fade. Scenarios that felt urgent lose their force. This does not mean karma has disappeared. It means it has been seen. In Buddhism, liberation does not come from erasing the past. It comes from understanding it so clearly that it no longer controls the present. Dreams play a quiet but powerful role in this awakening. So when a person appears in your dream carrying the weight of memory, do not resist it. Do not chase it either. Let it show you what remains unfinished, not so you can reopen old stories, but so you can finally lay them down. When karma is recognized, it no longer needs to return. When karma has been seen and understood, the mind begins to soften. But there is still one subtle danger that often appears along the path: misinterpretation. And this is where we will move into the next part of today's video. The silent trap: how misunderstanding dreams pulls us away from ourselves. One of the most common mistakes people make is believing that a dream is a message from someone else. They wake up and think, they must be thinking about me, or this person is trying to reach me through the dream. At first, this feels comforting. It creates a sense of connection, meaning, even hope. But Zen sees something else beneath the surface. This belief is attachment wearing a spiritual mask. The mind, when it feels unfinished, looks for reassurance. It prefers stories that point outward, because turning inward requires honesty. Believing that a dream comes from another person allows us to avoid meeting our own longing, fear, or unresolved emotion. We turn the dream into a bridge toward the other, instead of a mirror toward ourselves. Zen warns gently but clearly about this habit. The moment you project meaning outward, you step away from the teaching the dream is offering. You begin chasing shadows instead of understanding their source. A dream does not reveal what someone else feels, thinks, or intends. It reveals what is moving inside you. When this truth is ignored, the dream becomes a distraction rather than a guide. You may replay it repeatedly, search for signs, or even alter your waking behavior based on an illusion created by the mind. This is how attachment quietly deepens. You might convince yourself that reconnecting with someone is necessary, that acting on the dream will bring closure or clarity, but often, it only reinforces the very loop the dream was trying to expose. Instead of releasing, you bind yourself tighter to the image. Zen calls this Fyon Chigo projection. It is the habit of placing inner states onto outer objects. Dreams are especially vulnerable to this because they feel intimate and mysterious. Without awareness, the mind turns them into stories that support desire rather than dissolve it. The danger is not the dream itself. The danger is forgetting its direction. Every dream points inward. The moment you follow it outward, you move in the opposite direction of freedom. Zen does not ask you to suppress meaning or ignore dreams. It asks you to stay honest. When you wake up from a dream involving another person, notice the immediate impulse. Do you feel pulled toward them? Do you want to act, reach out, interpret, or search? That impulse itself is the teaching. Instead of following it, pause. Sit with the sensation. Where is it in the body? What emotion is underneath it? Loneliness, longing, guilt, fear. When you stay with the feeling without projecting it onto another person, the dream begins to release its grip. This is how dreams fulfill their purpose. Not by leading you back into old stories, but by showing you where attention is still entangled. Zen reminds us again and again. Liberation does not come from rearranging the world. It comes from seeing clearly how the mind creates the world it suffers in. When a dream is misunderstood, it strengthens illusion. When it is seen clearly, it weakens attachment. So the next time you wake up believing someone is calling to you through a dream, pause before you answer. The call is not coming from outside. It is coming from within. And when you turn toward that inner voice with awareness, the dream no longer needs to repeat itself. When you stop chasing dreams outward and begin listening inward, something practical naturally follows. Understanding alone is not enough. Awareness must be lived. And this is where we will move into the next part of today's video. After waking, how to turn dreams into inner practice. The first step begins the moment you open your eyes. Do not rush. Do not reach for meaning. Simply remain still for a few breaths. In that quiet pause, the dream is still close, like mist that has not yet lifted. Zen teaches that this moment of silence is more important than any interpretation that comes later. When you rush to explain a dream, you pull it into the noise of thought. When you pause, you allow it to speak in its own language. Often the truth of a dream is not a sentence, but a feeling that lingers in the body. After this pause, gently write the dream down, not to analyze it, but to honor it. Details fade quickly, and writing grounds the experience. You are not recording a story, you are capturing a trace of awareness. Even fragments matter. A face, a place, a single emotion is enough. Next, return to the feeling. Ask yourself quietly, what did I feel in the dream? Not what happened, but what moved inside me. Fear, warmth, sadness, relief, tension. This emotional tone is the key. Zen trusts feeling more than narrative because the body remembers what the mind forgets. Only after emotion becomes clear do you reflect on symbolism. Ask not who the person is, but what part of you they represent. Are they showing strength you have neglected? A wound you avoid touching? A desire that quietly shapes your choices? This question is not meant to be answered quickly. It is meant to be held gently. Finally, return to stillness. Sit, breathe. Let the mind settle. Meditation is not used to force meaning, but to allow it to surface naturally. In silence, the dream continues its work without images. Insight arises not as thought, but as understanding. Zen emphasizes this sequence for a reason. Dreams are subtle. When handled roughly, they close. When approached with patience, they open on their own. You do not need to do anything dramatic. Consistency matters more than intensity. Over time, this practice changes your relationship with dreams. They no longer disturb or obsess you. They become quiet teachers that visit, point, and leave. Some dreams will dissolve after being written and felt. Others may return each time softer until the lesson has been fully seen. More importantly, this way of meeting dreams trains the same skill needed in waking life. Thoughts arise, emotions surface, images pass through awareness. You learn to pause, observe, and not react. In this sense, dream practice and life practice are not separate. Zen does not separate night from day. Both are fields of awareness. When you learn to meet dreams without clinging, you slowly learn to meet life the same way. And when awareness is steady, even dreams know when to be silent. As dreams slowly transform into a quiet inner practice, one element becomes impossible to ignore. Images may fade, faces may blur, but one thing remains vivid long after waking. And this is where we will move into the next part of today's video. The emotional gate: why feelings in dreams hold the true key to understanding. Zen teaches that the mind speaks most honestly through feeling. In dreams, emotion arrives before explanation. It moves through the body instantly, without logic or story. This is why emotion matters more than the images themselves. A single feeling can carry more truth than an entire dream narrative. When a person appears in your dream accompanied by a strong emotional charge, it is a sign that something inside you has not yet come to rest. The mind does not create intensity without reason. Emotion is the pressure point where awareness is being invited to look more closely. Joy in a dream often reflects acceptance. It may signal reconciliation within yourself, a quiet permission to be at ease with something you once resisted. Fear, on the other hand, points to avoidance. It reveals a part of the psyche that has been pushed away, ignored, or judged too quickly. Anger in dreams is rarely about the other person. It usually arises from an unrecognized conflict within, values in tension, boundaries crossed, or truths left unspoken. Regret or sadness often carries the weight of attachment, especially to the past. Not to the person, but to what they represented in your life. Zen does not ask you to fix these emotions. It asks you to feel them fully, without interpretation. Emotion is not a problem to solve. It is a doorway to enter. When you stay present with feeling, without turning it into a story, it begins to soften on its own. This is where many people turn away too quickly. Strong emotion can feel uncomfortable, even threatening. But Zen reminds us that what we avoid grows louder. What we meet with awareness loses its grip. In dreams, emotion strips away the defenses we maintain while awake. There is no performance, no social mask. The feeling that arises is raw and direct. This is why dreams can feel so intimate, even unsettling. They bypass the intellect and speak straight to the heart. When you wake from a dream, the most important question is not what did it mean, but what did I feel? If you stay with that feeling without judging it, naming it, or pushing it away, it begins to unfold its message naturally. Over time, you may notice patterns. Certain emotions repeat more than others. Fear appears again and again, or longing, or quiet relief. These patterns reveal where your inner attention has been resting, even when you were unaware of it during the day. Zen sees emotion as a compass, not an obstacle. It points toward the places in the mind that are asking to be seen. When you follow this compass inward, dreams become less confusing and more precise. Eventually, something gentle happens. As emotions are acknowledged rather than resisted, they lose their urgency. Dreams no longer need to shout. They whisper, or sometimes they fall silent altogether. This is the work of inner harmony. Not through control, but through listening. As emotions begin to soften and reveal their quiet truths, another pattern often emerges in the landscape of dreams. Some dreams do not come once and fade away. They return, again and again, asking for attention. And this is where we will move into the next part of today's video. Why recurring dreams appear, and what the mind is still asking us to see. In Zen understanding, repetition is never random. The mind repeats only what has not yet been fully seen, felt, or released. A recurring dream is not punishment, and it is not prophecy. It is simply unfinished awareness knocking gently, sometimes persistently, at the door. When the same person appears repeatedly in your dreams, it does not mean they are thinking of you. It means a thread inside you remains tied. That thread may be attachment, unresolved karma, suppressed fear, or an unacknowledged longing. The face is familiar because the lesson is still alive. The mind is patient, but it is also honest. It will not change its message just to make you comfortable. Instead, it repeats the symbol, hoping one day you will stop looking outward and begin looking inward. Recurring dreams often intensify over time. The emotions become stronger. The scenes feel closer. This is not because the situation is worsening, but because your awareness is approaching the core. Like a bell struck again and again, the sound grows clearer as you move closer to its source. Zen teaches that what is not consciously lived will be unconsciously repeated. During the day, we distract ourselves with activity, logic, and explanation. At night, the mind removes all distractions. What remains is what truly matters. A recurring dream is an invitation to wake up not from sleep, but from habit. It asks you to notice where your attention has been avoiding truth, where you have chosen comfort over clarity, where you have held on when letting go was needed. This does not mean you must force understanding. Zen never rushes insight. It asks only that you stay present. When you meet the dream with stillness instead of interpretation, the repetition begins to lose its grip. Many people notice that as their daily awareness deepens, the recurring dream changes. The person becomes distant, the scene softens, or the dream simply stops arriving. This is not because the issue was solved intellectually, but because it was finally seen. From a Zen perspective, awakening in daily life dissolves dreams naturally. When the mind no longer needs symbols to speak, it becomes quiet. The message has been received. The lesson has been integrated. Recurring dreams are not signs of failure. They are signs of sincerity. They show that the mind trusts you enough to keep knocking. It believes you are capable of seeing. And when you do, when you truly see, the dream bows and disappears. In the end, a dream is never asking you to chase meaning. It is asking you to notice where you are still holding on. Every dream quietly points to attachment, something unfinished, something clung to, something not yet released. Freedom does not come from decoding symbols or searching for hidden messages. Freedom comes the moment you recognize what the dream is reflecting and choose to let it go. In Buddhism, awakening is not dramatic. It is simple. You thank the dream. You take the lesson. And then you continue walking. You do not argue with the image. You do not cling to the feeling. You do not build stories around the person who appeared. You bow inwardly, acknowledging what was shown, and return to presence. That is the path of liberation. Zen reminds us of something even more unsettling and more freeing. Waking life itself is also a dream. The people you meet, the emotions you react to, the roles you play, all of them are reflections of mind. Every face is a mirror. Every encounter is a teacher. Every moment is an invitation to see more clearly. When you understand this, dreams lose their power to confuse you. They no longer pull you outward. Instead, they gently guide you back home to awareness, to stillness, to truth. The final meaning is not hidden in the dream. It is revealed in your willingness to look inward. So tonight, if someone appears in your dream, do not ask, "What does this mean?" Ask instead, "What part of me is asking to be seen?" And if this video stirred something inside you, I invite you to pause for a moment and reflect. What emotion from your recent dreams still lingers in your heart? Share one word in the comments, not the story, just the feeling. Awareness begins when we name what we feel. In the next videos, we will go even deeper into how dreams dissolve as awareness grows, how attachment fades naturally, and how daily life itself becomes a practice of waking up. Not through effort, not through belief, but through seeing. Until then, remember this. The path is not outward. The answer is not elsewhere. The journey is always inward, and it begins now.